Hey folks, welcome back to Sub2 Investor. My name is Hans, and in this episode, I'll be talking about how I go about finding tenant buyers and buyers for my properties, which I purchase subject to or creatively, and I want to rent them on either a lease, an option, rent to own, or sell them with seller financing, either with a land contract or a mortgage wrap. If you're like me, you like passive income and you got into this niche of real estate for that very reason. Not only can we leverage amazingly great debt buying creatively, but then on the disposition side, we can really mitigate the hands-on nature of holding rentals or holding a portfolio if we do lease and options or seller financing. So if you like cash flow and you want to learn how to generate more of that, hit the like button on this video and subscribe. I go into detail and can hold your hand on a lot of this stuff in my coaching program. You can check it out at my website, sub2investor.com. But I want to give this information away for free because it is sought after so frequently. I've had a lot of people reach out and just ask me, how do you find tenant buyers and buyers for your properties? And by the way, this is part of my How to Sub2 playlist. If you haven't checked that out, there's lots of great content on how I go about actually executing these deals. I may not be a super guru or anything like that. I'm kind of just an average investor, but I put what I do out there for people to see, and I have a background in education, so I do like mentoring and guiding people through the process. So let's get down to it. This isn't going to be a comprehensive video on the topic. I can talk in more detail about all the various ways that I market for tenant buyers and buyers on my properties. In this episode, I just want to tackle one key way, and in my opinion, it's perhaps the most effective way to get your phone ringing on a property that you have for sale or for rent. I'll just throw out there, if you haven't already posted your house on Facebook Marketplace and on Zillow, well then you're missing out, because that's the easiest and fastest way to get your property out there in front of a bunch of eyes. But in my opinion, while those methods are effective, even more effective than that sometimes can be placing bandit signs throughout the neighborhood of your house with a marketing message keyed in for seller finance buyers and rent to own tenant buyers. I'm going to show you a couple pictures of an actual sign that I used on one of my properties recently, along with 3 different video clips that I took where I'm driving by and literally just showing you where I placed the sign and why I placed the sign where I did. I will say that it is super helpful to have some kind of CRM to track all the phone calls that are going to come in once you place these bandit signs in the neighborhood of your property and surrounding areas. If you don't, you're just going to have like a huge amount of people to call back, and you won't have any way to keep track of them, your conversation with them, how serious they are, if they actually have money to bring down on a house or not. And as you're getting all these inbound calls, it's great to be building a buyer's list so that on your next property, you can reach out to the most serious buyers or just blast your buyers list before you even put out any marketing to see if you might already have a buyer in your pool of potential buyers. So let me pull up some videos here and show you how I do this. Before I do the video, actually look at this gorgeous picture of a house that we purchased subject to and rented it out on a lease and option, and we really hope that our tenant buyer becomes a seller finance buyer after a period of time. But you can see that in the front yard of this house, I put 3 bandit signs, and that's what we do. Sometimes we put 3, 4, 5. In my opinion, it's better to have more bandit signs out in the front yard of your property than fewer bandit signs, just because it draws attention. Real quick, the marketing message on these bandit signs is, own this home, phone number, beautiful inside. Second sign says seller financing or rent to own, no credit, no problem, no banks needed. And the third sign to the right says lease purchase with my phone number and then rent to own. The reason I put different messages about seller financing and rent to own, those are 2 totally different things. In a lot of people's mind, it's like the same thing. They know they want to own a house, but they're not sure if they would really qualify for seller financing. So maybe rent to own would be a better option for them. And so we tend to put out a marketing message with both categories, rent to own and seller financing. A lot of people don't know what seller financing is, but they know what rent to own is, so they'll call the number based on that rent to own number and vice versa. I will say that a lot of your buyers in my experience, will come from people who used to live in the neighborhood or have family in the neighborhood. And you're going to be surprised, I think, especially if you're not in some really rural location that's remote. If there's quite a bit of traffic that comes down the street where your signs are, you're just going to get calls off of the signs in the front yard of your property. But we're not going to stop there. It's important that these signs have a phone number on them, because the signs that you place in the neighborhood and surrounding area, I don't always put a phone number on those. Sometimes I do. But if you don't put a phone number on those and just the address of the property, well, then they will drive to the property and get your phone number off of these signs. And so, of course, it's very important to have a phone number on the signs in the front yard of your property. Here's a close-up of one of the signs. I purchased these signs from dirtcheapsigns.com. You might be able to get a better deal on signs, but I can get, I think, 100 signs and the metal frames that you stake into the ground for about $250. So for each sign in total, it's about $2.50. Here's another example of the sign. Now on the other photo, I had red ink, and on this photo, I have blue ink. One thing I have discovered is that depending on what markers you purchase, the color sometimes fades from the UV rays of the sun. And I think I've had bad luck with either blue or red. I can't really remember, but going forward, this has happened to me a few times now. I think I would just use black, thick black ink, so that none of the text fades from hours in the daylight, in the sunshine, and your efforts and dollars will go farther that way. So that's a little pro tip. I would just use black ink on these things. Now here I'm about to show you 3 videos of the signs that I place in the surrounding area of the house. Let me just talk about that for a brief moment. In general, you want to follow general bandit sign placement theory as you place these signs. That means you want to find intersections where people are actually coming to a stop in their vehicles, intersections and places where lots of people frequent and drive by. If there's a major shopping center in the area, I'm thinking Walmart, McDonald's, Target, Home Depot, those kinds of places, maybe even some gas stations. Those can be really great places to get a ton of traffic off of these signs. Also, don't underestimate schools, apartment complexes where people are renting but may actually want to own a house, and any other stop sign intersections where, for whatever reason, there might be a lot of traffic. One other quick note, and you'll notice this in the videos that I show you, you want to think about, will these signs get taken down quickly, or might it take them a while to take them down, or might anybody even care that these signs are there? You really want the signs to be in their place wherever they're staked in the ground for as long as possible to get as much mileage and inbound buyer leads into your CRM database as possible. That'll make the marketing dollars you spend on these signs go as far as they possibly can. So if there is vacant land that is not being used, that's a great place to put a sign if it follows all the other rules and criteria. Anywhere where the grass is getting cut a lot by a commercial professional landscaping company, maybe weekly, the signs probably aren't going to last. So just keep that kind of thing in mind. And also generally, wherever you see other bandit signs, maybe it's for a pressure washing company or a roof company, that can be a good place to place your signs as well, because those signs are there still. Nobody's taken them down. So the chances of yours remaining up is greater in that case. All right, here's the first video of me actually on the field with these bandit signs. All right, see those signs right there? I just want to do a quick video to show you guys ideal bandit sign placement. See that this land right here is all being developed and is owned by whoever is developing that land. These signs read home for sale, no banks needed, financing available. These signs are advertising a rent-to-own / seller finance deal that we picked up with creative financing for sale or for lease to own. And we get calls off those signs every single day because they have not gotten taken down. And so ideal bandit sign placement really is going to generate a ton of leads for fantastic tenant buyers and seller finance buyers. There's another one right up here too. All right, cheers. Go get them. All right, one thing I want to point out, which I did not say in this video, is that this is right across from a large middle school. I don't show it in the video, but behind me here is a massive middle school. And this is a stop sign right here where I placed that Bandit sign. You can see that I put a sign kind of perpendicular to signs so that traffic from one direction sees the sign and the message, but then traffic from the other direction sees it as well. So this was right by a middle school where parents are going to drop their kids off and pick their kids up from school during the week. Not only that is a great place to put Bandit signs, but then this land is being developed, and so nobody really cares that those signs are there because it's not like they finished developing that real estate right across the street from the school. If these signs were on the school property, they would have gotten taken down probably immediately. However, these signs actually stayed up for a long time. I ended up taking them down after we got the property rented out on a lease and option. And the same thing goes for the one at the end of the video, which I just put down there because that was another turn in to get to the school. So there you go. All right, next video. See that sign right there? See that that's Lowe's and Target right there. That's a Bandit sign that I placed. And just look at how it's not on the grass. It's actually in the gravel. I did that intentionally so that when the lawn care people come by and cut the grass, they're not going to take the sign down. I'm going to show you another example. This is a Bandit sign advertising a house that we bought Sub2, but now we're going to wrap it on a seller finance or rent to own. And check out this, boom. Mulch placement right there. Look at how it's in the mulch. When the lawn care guys come to cut the grass, they will not be taking that sign down. All right, a couple comments on that. I was pretty excited in the moment because those signs were getting just a bananas amount of calls. And I was like, why have those signs not getting taken down? And I remembered that when I was placing these signs, I very intentionally did not put them in the grass because I knew those lawn care guys would take them down when they were weed whacking and mowing the grass, which they probably do on a weekly basis in this massive commercial complex where there's a Lowe's, a Target, a Home Depot, a Walmart. So I placed the Bandit signs in the dirt or gravel right there instead of the grass, and it stayed up for a long time. Now, obviously, I can't guarantee you that nobody's going to take it down, but you have a lot higher chance of that sign staying in place. And in fact, this one stayed in place as well. I know this because I took these signs down after we placed our tenant buyer. I wanted just to recoup the money on these signs since they're a little expensive, and I would use them again for another property. Yeah, I mean, look at that mulch placement right there. Had you put that sign in the grass, would have been gone. But we have so many buyers off of these signs. If we get another house in this area, first thing I'm going to do is blast a message to everybody who called off of these signs. All right, last video here. One more example of ideal Bandit sign placement. This is for attracting seller finance buyers. Look at how that sign is in the mulch. Rent to own, seller financing, no banks needed with a phone number on it. I'm like, why do I keep getting dozens of calls off of that number? It's because I placed them in ideal places near these shopping centers. That's a Walmart right there. But in the mulch or in the gravel, places where the lawn care guys are not going to take them down. Okay, I pretty much said it all in that video. I don't think there's much that needs to be reiterated, but take a look at that placement. In the mulch, in the gravel, I think you guys get the picture. So not only do I place Bandit signs in large shopping centers like this one, but like I said, highly trafficked intersections and stoplights, especially where the grass might be taller and not cut on a regular basis. You also don't want to underestimate placing Bandit signs in the immediate vicinity of the neighborhood wherever the house is. Again, in my experience, people like to live in the same neighborhood. And so if they're renting, but their kids are in that school district, but they want to own, they're going to want a place in that same school district. And so don't underestimate school districts. That's been a pretty large factor in terms of finding a buyer for our properties. You'll be amazed at what people are willing to do when it means that their kids can remain going to school with their friends and they don't have to have some massive transition in their childhood changing schools. Now, I'm sure I'm missing some things in this video that I should be saying, and so if you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. Let me just say one more thing. I put my phone number on those signs in the surrounding areas, but usually I just put the property address, which makes people drive to the property, actually set eyes on the property, call that number. That's one more barrier that they have to overcome so that when I get a phone call, I know that they're more likely to not be a tire kicker, but actually maybe want to buy that property or rent it out on a lease and option. Also, putting the property address on those signs out in the surrounding areas is going to protect you from any law enforcement that was angry that you placed signs. If they can see a number there, maybe you can get in trouble that way. I've never actually gotten in trouble on that note because I find that advertising a house for sale, realtors do this all the time. It's a lot different than advertising we buy houses. For some reason, just the message and the feeling of that's a little bit different. So I feel like you're going to slide a lot easier when you're selling a house or renting a house out because you're perceived as offering something of greater value than we buy houses people taking advantage of distressed sellers. Now, I know that's just the perception. It is what it is. Oh, and lastly, by putting the address of the property on those signs, people usually take photos of the signs and then call you later, or will look up the house on Zillow, and then they can get your number if they decide not to drive to the house, and then they can call you later. So that's my preferred method. On this particular property, this was a more rural location, and so I feared that people wouldn't be willing to drive 20 minutes to get to the house from that shopping center, which is why I put the phone number on there, and you just risk it for the biscuit. In this case, we got hundreds of calls off of these signs in a period of 2 weeks. I think the signs were up. I only got one angry call from the Home Depot guy. He said, hey, if you don't come get these signs, I'm going to take them down. I just didn't respond, and I'm sure he took them down, and no harm, no foul. I hope that is helpful. I know it didn't answer all the questions. Please leave comments and ask away. I'd be happy to answer your questions. Again, if you're interested in individualized coaching or my Introduction to Creative Real Estate Investing course, go to sub2investor.com and check that out. You can also reach out to me at hans@sub2investor.com. I have a free purchase contract for Sub2 and creative deals available on my website. Lots of other good content there. Thanks again for watching, guys. See you on the next one. Stay creative. Peace.